All right, let's talk about something that can feel, well, pretty tough when you're starting out in research. We're going to demystify how to create a really powerful qualitative research question, especially in language education. It's kind of like an art form, and today we're going to give you the blueprint.
I mean, this is the big question, right? You've got this spark, this nagging curiosity, but how in the world do you turn that into something you can actually research? Well, that's what this is all about, mapping out that journey from a kind of fuzzy idea to a razor-sharp question.
Okay, so here's the game plan. We'll start with finding your spark, then we'll funnel that down from a topic to a real problem. After that, we'll forge the question, get into the right mindset for it, and finally, talk about that tricky tightrope walk. So, Section 1, Finding Your Spark. Where do great research ideas even come from? You might think it's all about digging through dusty library books, but honestly, the most powerful stuff often starts way closer to home, like in your own life or just by looking at the world around you.
Take a look at this quote. This is just perfect. It gets right to the heart of the first source of inspiration, our own lived experiences. This student had this puzzle, this feeling of it just feels right with grammar. That little personal mystery? That became the seed for a whole research project. Seriously, your own life, as a student, as a teacher, it's an absolute goldmine for these kinds of questions.
Okay, so inspiration doesn't just come from inside us. It comes from out there, in the wider world. Think about it. Huge events, like when the whole world suddenly shifted to online learning. You had researchers like Kanal and his team who saw what was happening with teachers in Nepal adapting on the fly, and that sparked a study into teacher agency, their ability to make their own calls and shape their professional lives. The world is basically just handing us these research ideas on a silver platter.
And then, of course, there's the academic world, what some people call textual topics. Yeah, you can definitely get ideas from journals and what everyone's talking about at conferences. But here's the big but. You can't just grab a trendy topic off the shelf. It's got to mean something. It has to connect back to a real, tangible context that you care about.
All right, so you've got your spark. Awesome. But a topic like culture and language education, that's huge. It's way too broad. We need to narrow it down. And the best way to picture this process is like a funnel.
This slide shows that funnel perfectly. See? You start at the top, super broad, then you find a specific problem inside that topic. It's like asking, okay, but what about culture and language am I really curious about? And then the final step, you bring it down to earth. You anchor it in a real-world situation and, poof, you've got a specific question.
Okay, so now you've got a research problem. That's a huge milestone, for sure, but we're not done yet. Now comes the cool part. You have to forge that problem into the actual question. This question is going to be the blueprint for everything you do next.
And let me be super clear about this. This is absolutely non-negotiable. A good qualitative question has to be anchored in a specific context. The who, what, when, and where. Who are these people? What's going on? Where is it happening? Without that anchor, your research is just floating out in space. It's all about real people in real places doing real things. This is a fantastic example from that research in Nepal we mentioned. Just look at the words they use, explore, perceived and enacted experiences. See that? They're not trying to prove something is true or false. They're setting out to understand what it's really like for these teachers. That's a beautifully crafted qualitative aim.
Okay, this next part is maybe the most important conceptual leap you have to make. To really nail this, you have to get into a qualitative mindset. And what that really means is you've got to let go of that simple A causes B kind of thinking. Just look at the difference here. The first question, the positivist one, asks about the effective technology. It's looking for a number, a measurable result. That's a quantitative question. But look at the qualitative one. It asks how students experience it. It's not about measuring, it's about understanding the process, the feeling. It's all about the hows and whys.
So why are we so obsessed with these specific words? Well, it all goes back to this big idea called positivism. Basically, positivism is the belief that you can understand a really complex thing, like language learning, by just breaking it down into a bunch of tiny variables and looking for cause and effect. Qualitative research just doesn't buy that. It argues that when you chop everything up like that, you lose the real meaning. The whole point is to embrace the messy, complex human reality of it all, the stuff numbers can't tell you.
So here's a super practical tip for you. When you're writing your question, just be really cautious with words like effect, impact, relationship, factor. Think of them as little red flags. They might be a sign that you're slipping back into that positivist mindset. If you catch yourself using one, just stop and ask, Am I trying to explore something, or am I trying to measure it?
Okay, we're at our last section, and this is the final challenge. I like to call it the tightrope walk. You need a question that's focused enough to give you direction, but also open enough to allow for unexpected discoveries along the way.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have too loose. How do teachers feel about teaching? I mean, where do you even start with that? But on the other side, too tight, and this one's almost comical. It's so ridiculously specific that there's no room for discovery. You've already decided everything. It basically kills the whole point of doing the research. The magic, as always, is finding that sweet spot right in the middle.
And here's a really important thing to remember while you're on that tightrope. In qualitative research, you don't need a hypothesis. Let me say that again. No hypothesis. Your goal is not to prove something you already think is true. The whole point is to explore with an open mind and let the insights come to you from the data, from the people, from the context.
So, to wrap this all up, I'm going to turn the question back to you. Think about your own experiences with language, maybe as a student, a teacher, whatever. What's that one thing, that one puzzle that you've always wondered about? That thing that, like that student said, just feels right, or maybe feels wrong. Because that feeling right there, that's your spark, and that's where all the best research truly begins.